What's up, everybody? Welcome back to RBL Weekly. It is week 14 of the 2025 Roast Battle League season, sponsored exclusively by Neft Vodka. I'm the commissioner of the Roast Battle League, Pat Barker, joined not by Brian Moses today. Moses is unable to be here, so we have a very good replacement in line. The returning former legend, jumping back in, technically a rookie this year in the RBL, undefeated, Jay Light. Thanks for doing this. Welcome to the pod.
Happy to be back. I am excited to be on this side of it. I know the last time I was here, we were doing the fantasy draft.
Which, by the way, dominant season for your boy in the fantasy draft. I'm killing it. Jay is in second. Moses.
I know I recently slipped into second. I saw that, which is nice. Mm-hmm. I also had somebody hit me up on Instagram privately on the Patreon who was basically, I think, just trying to get like their due diligence done on me and be like, hey,
I think I know who that is.
Are you gonna keep battling hard the rest of the season? Because I'm going to trade for you in the fantasy league. And I was like, yeah, I plan to. I've got like 3 more on the books.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, cool.
Initials RA?
Yeah.
That dude's a psycho in the best way. I love him.
Yeah.
Super fan. Love our Patreon community. Shout out to Lucha, who sent me a very cool gift. I got to wear it next time I'm on the pod. He sent me a t-shirt.
Whole mask.
He sent me a t-shirt. It's so cool. It's a parody of the NWA, where their faces are all kind of like around. They're all like looking down at the camera.
Yeah.
Except NWA is replaced by RBL and every member of NWA is replaced by Lucha. So it's just a whole bunch of like Mexican luchadors staring back at me. It's very cool.
That's funny.
So thank you. And thank you to, the Patreon members who have been jumping on, helping us rank. Nikki Smith helped us out this week. Love that community and love the guy we're talking about. But that was the result of a blockbuster fantasy trade in the fantasy league. Jay Light, the first ever 1-for-2 deal.
Whoa.
You were traded for all-star from Cleveland, Pope.
Okay.
And the former Manchester champion, Charlie Ashton. A hell of a haul in return for Jay Light.
Man.
Flattering, right?
That is flattering. Especially, I watched Pope's battle last week.
Yeah.
Big fan already.
He's
excited
great
to see what he does in the All-Star game. Wow. I'm honored.
You should be. And let's talk about the All-Star game real quick, because I said I would make the official announcements on the podcast this week. I did it on the Instagram, RBL Commish, last week. Let's talk about the matchups that'll go down July 13th in New York at the Comedy Cellar. Tickets, I believe, are not on sale just yet, but will be very, very soon. They seem to put them on like 2 weeks out.
Yeah, they should be up pretty soon.
Yeah.
punchup.live/roast battle league for all your ticket needs.
That's the best place to find them. Let's go through the matchups. We covered last week. Pope versus Nate Maloof, Cleveland versus Denver, the undefeated rookie from Denver. And then you have Pope, who just won their tournament out there from Cleveland. That is one matchup. I believe we talked last week. I can't remember, but if we didn't, I'm breaking it now. If not, I'll get your reaction on it. Paige Wesley, representing the Bay Area, perhaps the RBL GOAT, if not certainly in that conversation, going up against the undefeated 11-0 Shelley Gruenberg from Atlanta. That one is nuts.
That's a crazy battle. I remember, you talked about that last week on the pod. I was very excited to hear that was going to be... That has really strong potential, I think, to be battle of the night of the All-Star game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to see what Shelley does. She's on this team that has very little help outside of her, and she just puts up these crazy, crazy numbers.
Yeah.
So the debate always in like any type of sport is like, yeah, but can you do that against like elite competition? She did it last year. She won the All-Star Game MVP. Yeah. It doesn't get more elite than Paige, so I'm excited to see what happens.
She's like Ohtani on the Angels.
Yes.
We're just like a Titan, but the rest of the team just can't even compare.
Exactly.
Shelley needs to get traded to whatever the Dodgers. Shelley needs to get traded to LA or New York.
It wouldn't be fair. They'd cry collusion. They would not allow that. They would riot in the streets. There's no way.
Shelley's translator's getting indicted.
The other matchups, I don't think any of which we have announced, a lot of them, because it came down to the very last millisecond before I could even make the decisions. I had to give people time to plan their travel, but some of these decisions would have changed in the last week, frankly. You have Austin versus Chicago, Mike Eaton versus AJ Leidig. Two of the best in the league. Two guys that, records right around 500, but they get on the podcast a lot of ranked battles. Two very entertaining battlers. Handicap that one real quick. What do you think?
I mean, I love both of these guys. Mike and I obviously have got a little bit of some bias because I work with him directly. We co-run Roast Battle DFW and the WRBL. I know his style very well. He, to me, always seems like he's coming from the place of being the underdog, where he has just this, like, I know that he's somebody who prepares almost at the very last minute for battles, which is sort of the Austin style, as you've talked about previously on the show, but he does a great version of that, and he always comes out swinging very hard, and he's so likable. And AJ, too, is very likable, but I know has this edge that Mike doesn't. Mike is a round man, and AJ is not. AJ's a little sharp boy, and I do think it's going to be a matchup. This is going to be a real stylistic fight. I think it's going to be close. I will give the edge to Mike Eaton. I think he's going to be able to knock it out, but I do think that one is going to be a real brawlers match.
It's going to be a great one. I love that you said Mike is round. The combined weight of the Western Conference roster is through the roof. It's the fattest team ever assembled in the Roast Battle League. Let's cover the only in shape person on the entire roster, Ryan Nesson, getting the nod in LA. And LA was so tough. I hit you and three other people up about a month ago, and I said, listen, you guys are basically the four finalists. We're going to have two spots. It's going to come down to the wire based on wins and RBL Weekly points. And I was hoping somebody would make my decision easy by fucking up. Frankly, I was hoping somebody would fall off. And nobody did. Yeah. Everybody won every battle they were supposed to, or they had number one battles, and it was so tough. Ryan Nesson, I think the moment he had that Ryan Cullen battle, ranked number one, and was kind of universally praised as one of the best of the season, if not of all time. I think that's where he got in. Yeah. He will be going up against Andrew Manning from New York. These are the two winningest American battlers in RBL history. Nesson has 15 wins. Manning has 14. Nobody else has reached those numbers. The 2023 world champion versus the 2024 U.S. champion lost in the finals. Nesson versus Manning. Where do you even start with that one? I don't know. It's
a tough one, and it is the USA Roast Battle League's Israel-Palestine match.
It is. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's why I'm bad at marketing. I'm over here talking about the thing nobody could possibly give a shit about, which is like very insular roast battle statistics. And you're like, yeah, we could also just go Israel-Palestine. I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah, it's like a Jewish guy and a Palestinian guy. But I do think, that one's a really tough one to call. I feel like that one also, similar to Mike and AJ, is kind of a coin toss.
Yeah.
I think that what I have really enjoyed watching from both of those battlers over the past season is that they have sort of loosened up stylistically from where they previously have in their careers. Andrew, in his last battle against Sarah Barnett, was a really much more like freewheeling in the moment kind of performance that I've ever seen from him. Ryan, I think, is really dialed in writing-wise, but also having more fun on stage. I think, you look back at his battles recently with, like, Logan Farr, him and DeHerm. Obviously, the him and Ryan Cullen battle's like a titanic historical battle. But he's also showing up and also being loose in a way that I think him not being able to do that in season 2 was part of his stumbles that season. And so now I think he's got back into form, and I do think that's going to be another one that could potentially be battle of the night.
If I had any advice for Ryan Nesson, take your joke that you feel the most confident is going to work and do it first.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that first joke determines which way he's going to go in a battle. If the first joke doesn't exactly connect, I think he gets in his own head a little bit.
Yeah.
I think if the first joke hits, then he is very confident going forward. Andrew Manning, 14-1 in RBL play. And by the way, he battles in the offseason too and hasn't lost any of those. He's lost one battle in the last 3+ years. out of probably 30. So hard to bet against him, but that one's going to be great. And then the last one, this was the hardest. The day I told everybody I would have my decision in, I sat down and I wrote down by hand Tom Goss, Nate Welch. I put all their statistics side by side. It was impossible to compare. Tom was 2-1. Nate was 3-1. Tom had 2 RBL battles for 14 points, both number ones. Nate had 2 for 12 points. You could argue that Tom's battle against Jack was Jack doing more of the heavy lifting. You could argue that Nate's battle against Robin, the most memorable thing was Robin's Kill Tony thing. You know, I wrote down the quality of their opponents. That was kind of a push. They've both faced some of the best in the world. The tiebreaker really came down to head-to-head. They battled for the championship, and Tom beat him. And that's the thing I kept coming back to. I'm like, it's so hard when they're this close to not have that factor in kind of majorly. So Tom Goss got the nod. These two have been going head-to-head for a while. Yeah. I mean, just since the halfway point of last year, so about a year now, I had to choose, not that it was just my choice, but I had to vote on LA MVP last year. I know Tom thought that he deserved a real serious shot at that.
They put together quite a campaign.
They did. I voted for Nate. I thought Nate deserved the MVP last year. Nate went to the World Championship. They had their battle this year. I was the final deciding vote on that. I voted for Tom. I thought Tom honestly won the battle. I know Nate thinks he deserves an overtime in that. So, you know, if nothing else, you could say I'm completely unbiased. I judge everyone how I feel, and I could be wrong, but that's just how I feel. And then this one, I felt like it was basically a push, and, you know, that battle served as the tiebreaker. Anyway, Tom Goss is the final member of the 2025 Western Conference All-Stars. He will be battling the #1 fantasy player in the league this year, Tori Ward from Chicago, who in the early part of the season has just been on here every week, just killing it. What do you think about the selection, and what do you think about that matchup?
I think that ultimately it's the right call selection-wise. And not to say anything bad about Nate. Obviously, Nate would have been a very worthy selection as well. But you got to go with the actual facts, and there's the one piece that gives Tom the edge, which is him having won the championship belt from Nate at the beginning of the season. I think Tori Ward versus Tom Goss is going to be a really, really interesting matchup, because part of where Tom shined, especially in that championship match, was him being able to go the distance in 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Tori, as we saw when she battled for the tournament finals,
that's a great call.
Matt Sullivan.
Yeah.
She's great with, you know, they do their 7 jokes over there instead of 5, but they did a full 3-rounder for the championship, and Tori sort of faltered at the end. And I think Tom, in the past couple of the times we've seen Tom battle, particularly against the Jack trainer in that show, hasn't done quite as well in a 5-joke match compared to Tori, who I think shines in a shorter battle. I think that Tom is not going to be somebody who's out there licking his wounds. I think Tom is ready to go in and cement why he is this all-star selection, cement that he has the championship belt in LA for a reason. It's coming off of a loss, especially. But Tori also, look at her stats. Top fantasy player.
Yep.
One of the most insane runs from the beginning of the season, and also insanely likable.
Yeah.
Just a great battler to watch. So much fun to see her battle. I think that one's going to be really close. I'm going to give, just because of the history of the season, I give a slight edge to Tori Ward on that, but I am definitely not ready to count Tom out. That is going to be a really exciting fight.
Dude, I agree. It's going to be a great night. And Chicago was a tough call, too. I mean, how do you leave out the guy who went 5-0 and won the tournament?
I mean,
it's tough.
It's tough.
He got a nice consolation prize. Matt Sullivan will be battling at the Mothership this coming Sunday.
Oh, nice.
We have 2 shows at the Mothership, 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. So if you're in the Austin area, I believe tickets are still available as of this recording for at least one of those shows. Hop online, grab those, and we'll see you there. All-Star Game, July 13th. Lafayette, June 27th, 28th. You can find all those tickets at
punchup.live/roast battle league.
Very good. Let's get into this week's battles. And boy, when I looked at the lineup of battles that I was sent this week. There are so many familiar faces. Some of the top people in the history of the roast battle. I believe coming into the season, we had a top 10 all-time ranking. I think 5 of them were in battles submitted this week.
Wow.
A lot of familiar faces. Also a couple new guys that we haven't seen that I was very impressed by. Without further ado, let's jump into it. And we start with a little bit of Roast Battle League history. The number 7 battle this week features Ryan Cullen. This is his 16th appearance on RBL Weekly, breaking a tie with James Regal. They've been going back and forth all season for that record. As of this second, Ryan Cullen now holds the record again with a number 7 battle. Only gets 1 point, but hey, he extended he broke the record. Regal, it's up to you to return serve. But this is the number 7 battle this week. It comes to us from Scotland. This is Ryan Cullen versus Dean Coughlin. Here it is.
Stupid fucking. Ryan is a stage 4 paedophile. Nah, I'm only joking.
Automatic disqualification.
Ryan has had 3 girlfriends leave the country to get away from him. Ha ha. No
Recently
joke,
4.
I heard when Ryan comes, he goes, "Oh yeah." Weird, that, innit?
What?
Ryan has the same teeth to gum ratio as Beavis from Beavis and Butthead.
That's fine.
Let's go on now. Got one more. He looks like Tommy from the Rugrats if Reptar bars called autism. I fucked that up. Go on.
Okay. Dean's been raped 6 times in my head.
Wait, just
7 now, actually. Dean's what you get if the only thing Charles Manson killed was the vibe at house parties. Yeah. Dean's crustier than the Primark socks under his blow-up mattress. When Dean was 6 years old, he was left on the front steps of an orphanage. Yeah, they locked the cunt out.
Oh, it's all fun, isn't it? Ryan is so skinny and pale that when he visited Auschwitz, people kept taking selfies with him. That was a joke about him looking like a Holocaust survivor and people thinking he was part of a historical reenactment, just so you know. I just have to explain that one just to get it really get it in there. He looks like he lost his farm because he was diddling the potatoes. I didn't really want to make the whole predictable, like, Gollum joke, because I know you're all sat there going, Dean, we know he looks like Gollum. Say something else. But the reason I call him Gollum is because the only women that'll shag him have got hairy feet.
Oh, right. Okay. You done?
Yeah.
Dean looks like the 3rd option on his speed dial as customer support for Monster Energy. Dean's a stoner, mostly Indians. There's a lot of positives and negatives with weed. Like, for example, since Dean started smoking weed, it's really helped him with his depression and his severe anxiety and all that. And I'm sure there's positives as well to the thing. Dean has a tattoo of Alan Partridge and David Attenborough, right? Decided it was time for old men from the BBC painted on his back rather than old men from the BBC painting his back.
Ryan looks like he's only just started listening to Kanye West. People say you are what you eat. Ryan must have ate a cancer-riddled corpse. Where do you even buy them?
I know a guy.
Ryan used to do cross-country, which is, so he's essentially Forrest Gump if Jenny gave him the AIDS. He said I stone Indian people, what are you on about? Last one in this one. When Ryan's granddad was 50, he married an 18-year-old.
Stage 4.
It's class, that lad. There's no joke there, I just think it's sick. Go ahead.
All right, well, that's a good one. I've not seen a Scouser this hard-pressed since Hillsborough.
Topical.
Yeah, Dean's dad was at Hillsborough, you know, a bit of a klutz, that guy.
You'll have to explain these to me.
Some were saying that was less crushing to watch than seeing Dean do 10 minutes. Fucking inbred freak. Maybe if they did a horror remake of the Hillsborough Have Eyes, it would be cast.
I deserve more, that one. That was class, that. Ryan's mum's nickname's actually Hillsborough because she's always squashing fellas. I didn't even have that written down. It's good, that one, eh? Ryan looks like he does his big shop on the dark web. So stupid, that one. Ryan has been hit by 7 cars and involved in 2 accidents. One being a crash and the other one was his birth. And last one in this round is, Ryan looks like his sex doll would have a verruca. I don't know. I'm clutching.
Yeah, Dean's so goth that he only moved to Edinburgh to get closer to the castles. Dean looks like he uses a Ouija board to take dick pics. Dean looks like that he's in the 0.001% of some 41 listeners on Spotify.
Not far off that one, to be fair.
Yeah, the only time Dean's ever did was for illegally streaming Kerrang.
That was good, that. Is this the last round now?
Yep.
Yeah, sound. Ryan recently had a cancer scare. The cancer was like, fucking hell, get me out of here. Ryan's surname is Cullen, which in Gaelic can be interpreted as puppy, which makes sense because his mum's a dog. Fuck off, will you? Last one for me. Ryan looks like the type of guy who'd build a time machine just so he could go back and sniff his mum's fanny on the way out.
Jesus Christ.
Save the best for last, innit, you know?
Dean's cousin, friend, and godfather have all committed suicide. Lol. That's the ultimate take the hint, isn't it, really, Dean? Your family tree is 46% nooses.
Wow.
Looks like a tree, a regular tree in 60s Alabama. It's amazing that talking to Dean seems to give you the exact same mortality rate as a Boeing whistleblower. That's me.
Oh, there we go. Give it a big round of applause, everybody. Number 7 this way. I told you it was a good week. That's a good battle. That's a good battle, and it's only number 7. Ryan Cullen, I got to tell you, I think this battle was 2 days after the Ryan Nesson battle.
Really?
Yeah. So he just casually had maybe the best battle of all time, flew across the world, and then did this one. And
did this one while probably still a little bit jet lagged.
Yeah, sure.
Crazy.
Just writing 80 jokes per battle because that's how they do it. You just have to do 80 jokes there. And like what I love is like, you know, and Ryan did get the win. I thought it was a very close battle. I thought Ryan's last couple jokes probably pushed him over the edge, but like Dean had a ton of great stuff too. The thing that I love about Ryan is like the jokes are just so specific. They're all about like family suicides and like, you know, the specific tattoos he has and everything like that. Like, you know, if ever there was an excuse to slack, it's like, well, I got this other thing at the Comedy Store. You know, I'll come back and give this one. I'll do some like, you know, generic kind of jokes to get me through.
Right.
And he's like, no, I'm just going to write the best specific ones I can. I fucking love that.
I love also, I mean, this is one of the things that I really like about watching all these battles from around the world is seeing local references and seeing the stuff like they're doing a Hillsborough disaster, which I had to look up in the middle of this.
Oh, really? Because you were laughing like you were there.
Well, I figured it out. After I looked it up, I was like, oh, I get it.
Okay.
It's a fatal crowd crush at a football match at Hillsborough Stadium, which was the deadliest disaster in British sporting history. 97 fatalities, 766 injuries.
Jesus Christ.
So it was like
Travis Scott could never.
No, absolutely he could not. So this was so it's as soon as I finished looking it up, I'm like, this is great. This is the kind of this is the kind of reference that is a lingering that's kind of their 9/11 joke. It sounds like, like you get an old reference in there. It's like that, Madeline McCann. Anytime you can throw in an old, something like that, I love that. But I also think that, Dean and Ryan both had really good specific, some jokes that were just toss-offs that were barely a joke, but were funny because of the way they delivered it. Even if it wasn't a particularly roasty joke.
Yeah.
But also Ryan Cullen, just the 46% of your family tree is nooses.
It's amazing.
It's so good.
I just want to clip out this podcast and show it to one woman who had a husband die in 9/11 and be like, Jay Light thinks that some soccer hooligans getting stomped is basically on the same level. He said this is their 9/11.
I mean, listen, if we're being real at all, the London bombing is probably going to be closer. The London, the tube bombings, but...
This is where if we were a good podcast, we'd have that S tier thing pop up and just start ranking.
Disasters.
We're not nearly that prepared. So, but yeah, thanks to this battle for educating me, teaching me. I'm, wiser now. I know about the Hillsborough disaster, and my condolences to those who were lost.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving now and get to the number 6 battle of the week. Boy, what could beat that? It would have to be somebody who's really, really good at this and super funny and talented. Where could we find a guy like that?
John Michael Bond.
John Michael Bond. It's the number 6 battle of the week. It comes to us from L.A. Roast battle legend, one of the best to ever do it. John Michael Bond taking on an up-and-comer, a rookie this season by the name of Jay Light.
Ooh, I've heard a lot about this guy.
Number 6 battle this week. Here it is.
You got this?
He's got this.
Are we ready for this? Yeah! This is 2 white guys from the South. That's Jay from Texas. That's John from Atlanta. Let's rock!
Jay Light has the name of a black comic and the face of the guy who burned a cross on his lawn.
This is John Michael Bond. His whole vibe is kid who went missing 30 years ago, and this is what the cops think he looks like now.
That's really good.
Jay, you with your strong shoulders and your supple lips, you look like a trans person who keeps changing their mind. What did they start as? See, pronouns are easy. Yeah.
John Michael Bond, you look like a leprechaun who's guarding a pot of gravy. John is a ginger who used to do musical theater. His mom would always sing, "My son will come out tomorrow."
Thank you very much, little Autism Annie. And Jay Light looks like he would wash your children's underwear without asking. You're like, man, these look licked clean. Wow.
How else am I going to hide the evidence?
By not admitting it in public.
No, they did not like that. Nobody like that. Okay. John Michael Bond. I got to look at my fucking thing. Here we go. John Michael Bond is Polly because he looks like he won a cracker. Now, John Michael, he's
2 white women that I'm dating, so technically 2 crackers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a wife and a girlfriend. That's what John Michael's rocking. In the poly community, he is what's known as hot. John Michael is a poly 9, a straight 4, and a January 6th.
All right, there you go. One of those jokes was great, dude. That was fabulous. Jay Light writes for TV. He writes for BattleBots, MasterChef Junior, basically any show that plays in the background while someone overdoses in the Midwest.
There you go.
I was waiting for that.
I've been waiting for that one.
Literally. He told me about that.
This Jim Crow Scarecrow is John Michael Bond. Oh, boy. John Michael Bond looks like a Civil War reenactor for the next one.
Jay looks like a gynecologist who uses his teeth.
John Michael Bonner looks like in a past life he was a spittoon cleaner.
All right, and apologies in advance. There was an overtime to that battle. You won in overtime.
I did.
And, our normal guy who cuts these things up is not part of the team anymore, so I've taken on doing it myself, and I forgot. My bad. I suck at this. I suck at this. You know, it's funny. I clipped the overtime, too, specifically, and then I thought I patched them together, and then when I was watching the battles, I was like, oops, I sent out the one without the overtime. So in the overtime, Jay Light clearly wins the battle. Full disclosure, I voted against him at regulation because you did have to keep checking your notes. I thought both of you guys did good. I think watching it back, I thought your jokes were maybe like a step above, but you didn't have them memorized. And I know that's got to be so fucking frustrating to deal with.
It was so frustrating because this was a battle. I talked to you about this afterwards, and I have seen a lot of comments where people are saying, oh, John Michael should have won that. And I don't think people are wrong, but I do recognize that, like, watching back now, I had all of my jokes hit.
Yeah.
That's one thing. John Michael's first joke didn't hit. Yeah. All of my jokes hit. So I understand the notes thing, and I will say that I also did not prepare as much for this battle as I normally would have for a battle. I didn't have as much time. I had a lot of other stuff going on. So I wasn't as on my game. I hated having to check my notes. I wanted to be memorized. I was so like, I got this memorized, and it just didn't like, so I think it was that moment in the middle where like I tried to have that riff with the underwear joke, and that not working through my rhythm off. Sure. Where I was like, now I don't remember what the next thing is. I can't just roll into it. So I'm trying to get myself right for the next battle. I do have another one coming up Tuesday. But I really loved, like, John Michael was just a great, he's a great opponent. I'm glad he's back in. It's really funny watching that back and just seeing like some of the things that I have been, we've talked a little bit over the course of the season about like what it's like to come back into it. Yeah. And having to sort of calibrate myself to like get to where the battle league, like the meta is now, and like what works for me versus what works for other people who I see battling. And I feel like this battle was the closest I've personally felt to like seeing the calibrated version of what works for Jay Light as a battler. Okay. But the extra level of being super polished, having the performance, having everything memorized, that was the one thing that was missing. Yeah.
I feel like every one of your battles has had one area where you're like, oh, he's completely back in this area, but he still has a little bit of rust in this other one. You know what I mean? And when you put them all together, I have a feeling we're going to see a version of you going for the LA MVP that is like, you know, pretty difficult to beat. You're undefeated. Yeah. All three battles have ranked. Yeah. But you know, I still feel like there's a next step to get to. The notes thing is so funny because like if you guys were two battlers in Scotland or London or, you know, even Chicago, you could just have the notes out. These are unwritten rules where in LA, like you have to be memorized, and people respect those. People like Ryan Cullen, we just saw on the phone the whole time. When he battled Nesson, he was off of it entirely. Same with Trainer. It's like these unwritten rules in different places. You know, a lot of people write their shit on their hands, or if they have notes, they sneak a peek while the other person is roasting. Have you given thought to any of that, or you just want to be completely memorized with no safety net?
What I feel like would work best is a hybrid. Like the way that I look at it is even Tom Brady had a playbook and they have the thing that they're checking on their arm. Sure. Right. And I feel like I used to do this when I was battling pre-league era. I've seen people doing it in LA now where they have their notes like on the stool.
On the stool. That was my thing too.
I feel like that's something that I am probably going to wind up going back to a little bit just because I don't like having to keep pulling the thing out. I like having the notes. I like having the playbook ready to go. Obviously, it's very helpful in battles like my battle against Aherm, where I had I had a set plan, but I was like, I'm going to need all these other jokes to be ready just in case. And then sure enough, I wound up going through almost every single one of those jokes over the course of the battle. I think that I will probably be adjusting my strategy after watching this, especially watching it back, to something more in that vein where it's like the notes will be available so I don't have to disrupt the flow by having to be like, oh, whoopsie, let's check the thing.
Exactly.
Because it's much more about, I think, being able to be in the moment of the battle. And notes or not, I think that is the most important thing at the end of the day. And I think that the way that the ranking committee looks at it too, I think that's evident. I think at the end of the day, a lot of people don't really care about the notes.
No, otherwise, there's entire cities that just have the notes out the whole time.
Yeah.
One advantage we had back in the day was the wave.
Yeah.
So if an opponent hit a really good joke on you, the wave runs on stage. Before your turn, you have plenty of chances to sneak a peek at your notes. I would do that all the time while they're doing their horse shit.
Yeah.
Everybody else is enjoying it. I'm just in the back like, fuck.
I would literally have I would have a drink and my notes, and I would take a sip and look at the playbook.
Yeah.
And go, this should not go next. Let's swap it with this one.
I think we each got a stool back in the day too. I think there were 2 stools.
Yeah.
I think somebody stole 1 stool from the Comedy Store 5 years ago and they've never recovered.
I feel like either that or somebody tried to fuck it too hard and it broke.
Rest in peace, stool. Joe Rogan fucked you to death.
I got to show you, by the way, sidebar. Last night I was at the store and they have at the Riff Raff. You familiar with the Riff Raff?
I am. I've never been. I really want to go. It's a great show.
There's a video. I'll show it to you afterwards. Joey Cerrone, who is a door guy there, gigantic Midwestern man. He had to do a thing where he had to jump on the stool in the belly room.
Oh, God.
And the stool didn't break, and Joey also surprisingly didn't break, but I felt like we could have lost both Joey and the stool if things gone wrong. I'll show you the video later. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff, that's the kind of abuse we're doing to stools, is we're having corn-fed Indiana boys demolishing them for our entertainment.
Dude, Riff Raff is one of those shows I gotta go just as a fan and watch. But if they ever offered me a spot, I'd politely decline. They got that. They have Shenanigans, which is like a couple roast battle guys like JP, Puth and Beetle, a couple other people put on this Mike Miranda Meadows, I think is part of it.
Yeah.
Where like you have to like spin a wheel and it's like, yeah, do 2 minutes while someone tases you in the balls. It's like, dude, I'm 40, I'm 42. I'm not getting tased in the balls at this point.
No.
Like,
that's what my wife's for.
Heyo.
Heyo.
All right, number 5 battle. Let's get into it. Nobody gets tased in the balls in this battle. Just some good, clean, fun jokes. This comes to us from London. London got off to a really, really, really rough start this season, to the point where we were talking about their downfall. What is going on in London? Well, now 2 weeks in a row, they've been on the rankings with battles taking place in London. Seems like it's the start of them slowly getting back into form. They have a big show coming up at the Top Secret Comedy Club in June, which is where we had the World Championship last year. They're going to have the finals of their tournament. And it seems like, the supporting cast is really beginning to step up. Ken Grinnell's had a great season. He was on the countdown last week. This week, it is Luke Hall, the most under-the-radar superstar in roast battle history, coming into this battle with 18 career RBL wins.
Wow.
Second only to Shalaka Kurup. He's going for 19, and yet a lot of people, they may never have seen him after watching this. So if this is your first exposure, enjoy. This is Luke Hall versus Alexandra Ivanova. Here it is.
This is what happens when a guy doesn't write his height in Tinder bio. Yeah, and Luke is 5'6", and I'm not used to that metric system. So I googled it, and it says that it's the size of someone with a great personality.
Thank you, my overshort king. Let's go, baby.
Hell yeah, dude.
So this is Alex. Alex is from Russia. She puts the erg in St. Petersburg. Russia, of course, famous for sending the first dog into space. Sadly, though, Alex made it back.
Thank you, midget spinner.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good stuff.
So, Luke looks like he was affected by Chernobyl's accident. Yeah, and fun fact, he and radiation have something in common. When they penetrate your body, you don't feel it.
Not till it's too late.
That's the British version of licking them clean. The rebuttal where it's like, yeah, I committed that crime.
So Alex has a Domino's pizza tattoo on her leg, which makes sense because her vagina is stuffed, crusty, and if no one comes in 30 minutes, you get your money back.
I thought that you are a friendly neighbor. Yeah, and you better be one, because you know what happens with unfriendly ones from Russia.
It's true, they gain ground.
Yeah, so Luke found out that he has anorexia and bulimia when he was 16. Yeah, that was a hard truth to digest. Yeah, and looks like his girlfriend has the same problem. She never swallows.
It's true, she never knows that it's in. That's why. That's logistically, your jokes are contradicting each other.
Check that shit, Luke.
Doesn't make sense. Alex here looking stunning. Sorry, blinding. Alex is so white she can unlock her phone with an A4 sheet of paper. She's genuinely so much of a white chick, she might be an undercover black man. No.
Wouldn't have guessed that reference.
Right? That's the Godfather to the British people. They love that movie, apparently.
Which, to be fair, would explain why she keeps using the N-word.
So yeah, that's harsh. I angered the leprechaun. Luke can a girl. Yeah.
Just because I can doesn't mean I will. I won't.
So yeah, he can a girl, but it's still called a little inconvenience.
That's good. That is good. Christ, I've been thrown off by a joke. If you guys see in the news that Russia has made ground, it probably just means Alex has got more filler. Her face is literally a frozen Russian asset. I don't know if I should have done that. That felt weird. Yeah, thank you.
So look, you like all natural, yeah?
Yes.
Yes, but you wouldn't survive natural selection.
Pretty good. That's why
That wasn't a joke. Luke and his girlfriend have very good, stable relationships without any emotional roller coasters. But mostly because he's not allowed to ride them yet.
One day. Alex absolutely loves horror films, mostly because she knows a black guy's going to die first. She is... She is like... No, but come on, she's clearly racist. Like, the only reason she isn't burning a cross right now is her face would melt. I got the black vote. Cool.
So, you know, a real horror starts when Luke finds his clothes in adult section.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
That last one was, I don't know what that was, but leading up to that, good stuff, man. Luke Hall is so fun. I wish he was on this podcast more. I think he wins and people have a hard time finding the angles to take on him. So it's not always the most entertaining, like back and forth battle. But he's really good. He does a thing that I hate, and I've spoken at length about how much I hate it. He does the best possible version of that. I've always said I hate when somebody makes a joke and the other person feels the need to rebuttal by just confirming what they said.
Yeah.
Luke is the best at, like, he does it in 2 or 3 words and it doesn't affect anything. It doesn't halt the momentum at all. It just kind of like keeps it going. Just like while the crowd is already laughing at him, like the roller coaster thing, he's just like, oh, one day. That's, if you're going to do it, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You don't stop everything to be like, I have a proclamation, and then be like, it's true, I'm too short to ride roller coasters. Maybe one day I won't be.
Yeah, you don't need to go that
No.
far.
And a lot of people do it, but Luke is very, very good at just sort of keeping the momentum going, giving his opponents props on good jokes. I just think he's really good at this and doesn't get shown enough on the pod.
He is very fun to watch. And Alex was her name?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
First of all, I was captivated the whole time because Alex and Luke do sort of look like long lost twins.
I could see that.
There was definitely like if Alex was trying to like she's the man herself, she would wind up looking like Luke or vice versa. But I do think that there was like a lot of stuff that she was saying angles wise, to your point about Luke being sort of a hard target to hit. She had some really fun ways of attacking Luke that I think if you're going to be battling somebody who's nondescript, go creative. That's why I loved like the Chernobyl and the radiation joke. I think were great. The roller coaster thing, I could see where the joke was going just because I know where that is. But like, I like that it starts off in a place where I don't exactly know where the punchline is going to wind up being, where it's saying whatever, something about like Luke and his girlfriend are both like emotionally stable. Yeah. Which like, it's a compelling setup.
Yes.
I don't necessarily know where it's going to go until you say the roller coaster thing. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a short thing. Right. But at the very least, the creativity is enough to keep me really intrigued. I would love to see more from her. And Luke, of course, is just like really fun to watch, really great in the moment. And props to him at the very beginning, the jokes about you calling her a dog, calling her like, it's tough to call a woman ugly when she is objectively not. And then you're making jokes later on in the battle about her being attractive.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He fact checked her thing.
Yeah.
But it's like you called her ugly and pretty, and then you called her an undercover black person and a racist against black people. I'm just saying, his jokes, I'm not sure hold up to the same level of scrutiny he was applying to hers.
He's doing like a full circle with his jokes where it's like, she's ugly, she's an undercover black person, middle thing. Actually, she's a racist. Actually, she's hot. What about that?
But all funny. And at the end of the day, you know, you can, as long as they're funny, you can get away with it. And, you know, especially against women, as long as the jokes are funny, you can call an ugly woman hot and you can always say they have a big forehead. It doesn't matter how big their forehead is. Those are the 2 cheat codes in roast battle. There's a million cheat codes against white guys. Yeah. Those are the only 2 I've found against women.
Yeah. Always go for the forehead.
Yeah. Call them ugly and talk about their forehead.
And sometimes you can call them a slut every now and again, but even that doesn't always work.
One of my favorite things ever was when Nicole Buchanan back in the day took that as like the biggest compliment.
Oh yeah.
Because like she spent so many battles with people being like, you're ugly, nobody wants to fuck you. And then the first time somebody was like, she's a slut, she fucks everybody, she was like, oh my God, it was such an upgrade for her emotionally, her self-confidence. But great battle, Luke Hall, Alex, Ivanova. Alex also did the thing that every Russian woman in the league does, which is like once a battle, just there's not even a joke attached. It's just kind of like, I could take you out. We could wipe you off the map. You know what my country does. Every single battle, there's one moment like that where they don't even attempt to make it into a joke. They're like, just so you know, we could fucking nuke your shit.
We're going to poison your tea at the very least.
Yeah, exactly. But great battle. Love the chemistry. 3 points for London as they try to claw their way back into contention for that international wild card. That thing is very much attainable, and London has a big show coming up. So We'll have to see what they do. Keep it moving right now with the number 4 battle. And for this, we go to New York. Another familiar name, another guy we've seen a lot. One of the 4 finalists for the World Championship in 2023. One of the fan favorites in the entire league, John Ajoda. His battles are the stuff of legend, and this is one he did recently against a guy who, from Philadelphia, a WRBL city, but has recently been making the trek up and battling in New York, which will eventually disqualify him from Philadelphia WRBL contention once he hits a certain number of battles. But Dan Wicks was telling me, he's like, this guy is the real deal. He's really, really good. And he's going up there and immediately battling the top guys. His name is Justin Koopo.
Yeah, I like this guy.
This is John Ajoda versus Justin Koopo. It's number 4 this week. Here it is.
Let's roast. I'm glad John could take time away from lecturing female streamers on their gaming setup to be here. John looks like his idea of foreplay is showing a girl how fast he can solve a Rubik's Cube.
It's the finger dexterity, but anyway, so Justin and I were supposed to have this roast like last month, but it got canceled because he just forgot to show up. You fucking fat idiot. But next time, just invest in a calendar that doesn't have little chocolates in them.
John's just upset because I remind him of that elephant that trampled his family at a wedding. Before comedy, John was a magician. His favorite trick was sawing a woman in half and then sending the pieces to her family in an unmarked box.
Dude, you look like a divorced beaver, dude. She took the dam. But anyway, Justin is from Philly, a city whose hero is Rocky Balboa, a fictional Italian retard. And Justin, a real Italian retard, used to really look up to Rocky until he found out he was only pretending to beat up all those black people.
Just ruin the illusion of the whole thing. That's all I'm saying. John's awful confident for a guy with a lisp. John used to work at one of those call centers where they scam old people, but he got fired because no one knew what a social security number was.
That was uncalled for, first of all. I know Justin has problems with Indian people, okay? I just know it, especially the ones that work at 7-Eleven because they don't let him refill his big gulp with the nacho cheese sauce.
How's that it? John, you migrant llama. John does have a lot of confidence. I've never seen somebody walk with their head so high and their shoulders so low.
John, sorry.
No, it's
my fault.
John has the posture of a sex offender. Or no, John has the charisma of a sex offender and the posture of a jacket hanging on a hook.
Well, if you relaxed your shoulders, maybe all the dandruff would slide off. But is this normal? Does this look natural to you guys if I was like this the whole time? Anyway, Justin used to work at a minor league baseball team until he found out minor league still meant adults. But now he works for a t-shirt company in Philly. His job is to test out how they look in the pool.
John wanted to play sports, but in order to wear shoulder pads, you have to have shoulders. John, you mum-bisexual. John looks like when he blows dudes, he plays a little flute and their dick comes out of their pants like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
That would have been funnier if you had the confidence to do the head bob, too. But... Okay, and just this isn't the joke, but last time you did manage to show up, Josh and us and Irina went to the diner afterwards to eat, and everyone had food except for Justin, which was shocking. But we could tell he's like poor, right? So I was like, hey Justin, you want some of my French fries? He took like half my fucking French fries. Unbelievable, half my fucking French fries. Anyway, first of all, Justin drove all the way from Philly to here to tell 5 jokes, and then I guess just go home. But he's originally from Tampa. He moved to Philly for comedy, and that's like moving from the ass to the balls. for comedy. And how does it feel like your big move to follow your dream was to go to the city where we go when we give up? Fuck Philly.
That's fine.
Well, the Philly side of me, not a fan of how that ended.
I am
The
shocked.
John Ajoda fan in me, yeah, fuck Philly. He's right.
Man, I'm surprised that's fourth.
You think it should be higher or lower?
Lower.
Okay.
I think that
Fair.
given what we've seen so far, I would have personally ranked that battle a little bit lower. It's not a bad battle by any means. I think that they were both great. I saw Justin, the battle that John was referencing with the where everybody went to the diner afterwards. Justin versus Irina Chilidze, who it was a great battle. That was the moment I fell in love with Justin. I judged that battle in New York. He was calling her a trout, which was just hilarious. You can go watch that battle. It's on their YouTube, on the Roast Battle New York YouTube. The jokes, it was interesting. There was like, for this battle in particular, it felt like they were swinging and not everything was hitting, and it felt like the rhythm was a little bit off. Like John even had that one moment, it was right in the middle of it, and this is where things started, I feel like, to feel kind of wobbly, where John said his the 7-Eleven nacho cheese joke, which I loved, but he started that joke off by saying, first of all, and then he didn't have a second part to it.
True.
And Justin, I think, you saw in the moment where he was like, oh, is that it? And Justin then had to go into his thing, and then that was when he
had to check his notes.
He had to check his notes, and then he fumbled the charisma and posture line.
Yep.
There were a couple of jokes also that like didn't really hit super hard in the room that you could at least hear, where it's like, again, I think all the jokes are solid jokes. But yeah, I feel like I would have ranked that a little bit lower.
The feedback I got from the ranking committee is that this week was really, really tough. Because you didn't even have, usually you have 16 battles. You didn't even have like the 4 or 5 that you can watch and be like, well, that one's definitely not making it.
Yeah.
You had a lot of stuff kind of in the, and I don't remember which 4 cities. I don't know if New York was in it, but basically 3 through 6 I had as pretty much a dead heat. They were all good in certain ways and then had like faults. Last week it was Chicago getting ranked way higher than I think most people thought they deserved.
Yeah.
So, Chicago and New York are in this race. Now it's New York, potentially getting a couple extra spots that some people would think that maybe they didn't deserve. I think sometimes the name value, sometimes people see a John Ajoda and they're like, well, this is going to be really good. Maybe they give it a couple extra points.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big names coming up in the remainder of these battles. I definitely had it behind London. I don't remember exactly where I had it, but I definitely had it behind London. The moments that were good were really good, but it didn't feel like there was a great kind of like rhythm to it.
Yeah.
I agree.
It didn't feel as much like a dance as some of the other really, really historically great battles feel like.
Yeah.
Like I would have had this battle, I think it would be close between this and Scotland. I would probably rank this above Scotland if I was on the ranking committee. But me and John Michael, I feel like even though I, admittedly had the flow disrupted a little bit by pulling out my notes, I kept it quick. Timing wise, it's not really as long as even what these guys are doing. It's about the same. The London battle, obviously, I would totally have ranked above this one because that one was much more like they were really going together. The dance-wise chemistry between Luke and Alex, I think, was really strong. This was a fun battle to watch, and I definitely think it deserves to be ranked. But yeah, just a little slightly off for me for this one. But still a great showing from Justin Koopo, who I do think is a strong battler. I'm looking forward to seeing more from him. John Ajoda, obviously a consummate pro, one of the best in the sport.
Yeah.
Even on an off night, and we talked about this with my thing, where it's like sometimes you, as a great athlete, you got to survive the bad performances.
Yeah.
In order to shine in the great ones. And I think this is watching John have sort of a weaker performance, but still show why he's one of the best to do it by shining with the joke writing, even if it's not his best battle.
Yeah. I mean, that's all the greats in all the sports. Jordan didn't score 60 every game. It made it special when he did. You know what I mean? But even his off nights, he was scoring 25, right? So that's a 25-point performance out of Ajoda. I felt like it was the same kind of way out of Ryan Cullen. Jay Yamaki, spoiler, 3 battles left. That one did not rank. Jay Yamaki was in a battle this week that did not rank. Mike Eaton and Jake Tapizza battled each other. And I don't usually spoil in the middle of the episode, but that one didn't rank.
Whoa.
A lot of really good people having their, 20 to 25 point Jordan night.
Yeah.
Some nights you score 60, some nights not so much. But, Ajoda does this thing that he always has one truth that's not even framed as a joke. It just hurts. Where he's like, he came up here to do 5 jokes and then I guess go home.
Yeah. That cuts.
But here's the thing, like, it shouldn't be an insult. Every comedian does that. Every comedian drives an obscene amount of time to do a show that pays $20 or gets them exposure on a podcast or something like that. And then they go, that's like normal comedy stuff. But like when you present it that way, it's like, can you believe he's doing this fucking stupid thing? It's like, we're all doing the stupid thing, but he made it work.
Yeah.
He made it work. He's really, really good at that. So fun battle. Number 4, debatably, should it have been? I don't know, controversial, but New York picks up 4 points for that one. Will Chicago have one of the top 3 and stay? They came into the week tied. Will they take the lead on New York this week? Still to come. Number 3 battle. Now, this is another one with a couple of big names, and this is another one that, when I talked about that Tom Goss, Nate Welch all-star berth.
Yeah.
Had I made that decision a week later, might have gone in the other direction because now Nate Welch has another 5 points, under his resume. 2.5 for LA because this is a road battle. This is LA versus the Bay in San Francisco. It is the guy who runs the roast battle up there, Josh Means, one of the best battlers in the league, going up against one of the other best battlers in the league, repping SoCal, Nate Welch. It's number 3 this week. Here it is.
You want to go first or second? Hell yeah, bro. Appreciate y'all. Let's do it. You go first. All right, I'm going to go first, everybody. Josh Means, Nate Welch. Make some noise for your final battle.
They co-hosted the whole show and made it.
Nate Welch. Welch's, because if you see him at the grocery store, you're going to get graped. He looks like he told the judge, no, Your Honor, it's funny because I call it Nate. Y'all make some noise for my opponent, Unsexy Red. So as we established, Ginger's a black now, right? Josh is ginger, and he has 3 kids, 2 baby mamas, and he don't pay child support. Sounds like he's really committing to this bit. Good one, girlfriend pays the bill Goldberg. Nate's a big fan of wrestling. He has been since he was a kid, and Hurricane Katrina suplexed his house and made him sleep in the stone cold. That was a good one, SPF 50 Cent. Josh is married to a Muslim woman, but she's the one who keeps telling his black ass to get a hijab. Yeah, thanks for taking time out of getting kicked out of a Buffalo Wild Wings to be here, Nate. You look like the knee that killed George Floyd had a face. I do look like a racist. You look like you stormed the Capitol just to get out the sun. Josh spends a lot of time hugging his wife from behind while she pays for all of his shit. I'll get you back next week, baby. Nate graduated from Nichols University because it was all he could afford. He studied journalism so he could break news instead of Xbox controllers. You look like a leper convict. Crackhead Sheeran. So Josh recently converted to Islam. I know. Now he worships fentanyl. And he stopped jerking off. Now he just masturbates. Nate likes rap music and black women. He goes to black comedy clubs for the same reason he goes to family reunions, to fuck sisters. I like that one. All right, look, let's wrap this up. Josh is ready to go party with the rest of his gingers in Paris. So Josh is divorced and he doesn't have custody of his kids. He reminds me of Finding Nemo. Because he's also an orange bitch who lost his family.
That's a great closer.
Wow.
Number 3 this week, and that was my New York, where I was surprised that one ranked as high as it did.
I could see that too.
And the ballots were all over the place. To me, maybe it's, God, if that had been at the Sacramento Punchline, I think it would have been twice as good.
Cobb's is a tough venue because of the size.
It's such a big venue. I've gone there to judge twice. I've never thought that the crowd was anywhere near the level of what we see from the Sacramento Punchline. And I don't know if there's not a better camera angle or better way to do it, but the audio and video from the Cobb's battles is just never on the level of the Punchline battles.
I don't know why that is.
It's the camera feels so far away. They don't zoom in at all. The audio is it feels like room audio instead of soundboard audio.
Yeah.
And to me, that stuff kind of affects it. I also thought that the jokes were good. I thought it was again like an adequate performance from two guys who have had legendary performances.
Yeah.
I thought it was an average kind of game from both of them. The closing joke, the Finding Nemo, was incredible. And if George Floyd's if the knee had a face,
yeah,
those were outstanding. Nate, as always, kind of overdosed on the puns, and I felt like they were hit or miss. There were some good hits in there. There were some misses. Overall, I think I had this one maybe 6th. Somewhere around there.
If I were on the ranking committee, I probably would have put this battle above me and John Michael, but below London still. And I think that, again, you watch this one and you can, you made a great point where there's the 3 through 6 range this week. There are a lot of people who are great battlers who are putting up sort of a performance that's just getting by. Both these guys had stumbles. Both these guys had maybe a little bit of being overwritten, some jokes that didn't quite land, but they also have some really big pops. I think also I would like to commend Nate too for doing something that I see every once in a while, and I most recently saw it in the DFW roast a couple of this is a couple months ago, but there's this guy at the DFW show named JVT, and he battled this guy Ivory King, and Ivory's a white guy, but he looks like he could be sort of a white passing Mexican dude.
Okay.
And JVT made all of his jokes. He started off the first joke about saying he looks like he's a Mexican, and then made the rest of his jokes racial Mexican jokes.
Right.
And I think Nate did a great move here and was able to pull it off by doing the gingers are black now thing.
Yeah.
And then making a bunch of really solid racial jokes that would work obviously against a black battler, but because he set it up at the very beginning, was able to have that be a good through line throughout, where he's making these racial things and the Islam stuff. Hamasturbates is it's a classic Nate Welch pun. I love
very Nate Welch.
I loved watching Frank on the judging panel just lose it at that pun specifically. But yeah, I think this was a solid performance. I've seen better from both these guys.
Yeah.
Who hasn't? But again, solid battle. I can see why this ranked. I'm with you a little bit on it. Probably should have been a little bit lower, but it's a solid battle. Great showing.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of it is not in the control of the battlers.
Exactly.
The venue, the audio, the video. In this case, it is in the control of one of the battlers because he runs the division. But I don't know what the setup is there. But overall, I just felt like it was good. Now, look, I'm sure the LA MVP race is going to be crazy. and we have so many things planned in the belly room for all of the people involved, which to me is Tom Goss, it's Nate Welch, it's Ryan Nesson, it's you, and there could be a couple of wild cards. I think Audrey Hebert could sneak in there as a wild card. I think Robin Tran. There's a lot of people who have a lot of stuff lined up. And we'll see, kind of what happens, assuming this all goes through to fruition and everything like this as planned. I think it's going to be a hell of a race. And, there's always going to be second guessing.
Yeah.
Because I could feel it already. Like, I think I should have beat that person and my battle should have ranked higher and blah, 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 blah.
And that's the thing we talk about with LA too. We were talking about it before the podcast where it's like between Tom, Nate, and Ryan alone, those are all three guys who are constantly like, well, I think I should have beat this person. I think this battle should have been higher. I think
Tom's pretty good at not doing that.
Tom is pretty good, but Nate and Ryan especially.
Yeah.
Feisty.
Yeah.
Feisty when it comes to their rankings and the amount of points and their win-loss record.
I get it because it matters.
Yeah.
It matters, Nesson was like doing his best to like not like try to influence me in any way, but he texted. I had already chosen him. I just hadn't told him for the All-Star. After that Cullen battle, I was like, all right, he's won. And then he texted me. He's like, I feel like I'm going to get fucked because my record's 2-2, but I should have beat Max Sorich in Chicago. And, I'm like, dude, just relax. I've seen all the, I get it. Everything's fine. But it matters. They want to do this shit. They're fighting really hard for it, and I get it. It's just it's funny. And I'm hoping the same way I was hoping that somebody would differentiate themselves and other people would fall off before the All-Star selection. I'm hoping by the time we get to the end of the season in LA, someone will. And my goal is the people who are the top 4 or whatever, put them head to head in the last month.
Yeah. I mean, I know I've got my battle with Ryan Nesson. When this episode comes out, that night we will be battling. I know that I've got a couple other ones. And personally, I'm happy being 3-0 right now.
You're in a good place.
I'm in a good place. I'm going to throw the gauntlet down now. My goal is to go undefeated this season.
If you do, that's going to be very hard to argue against.
And I think that is a good goal to achieve.
Tom Goss has a title match and the All-Star game. Ryan Nesson has your battle and the All-Star game. Nate Welch has a few battles already lined up. He's battling DeHerm. He's battling James Regal in Barcelona 4 days after the All-Star game. So everybody's putting in the work. Who will take the LA MVP? We'll find out. Who will take the #1 spot on the battle list this week? Fucking stumbled over that, but I'll tell you who it won't be, Manchester, because they're #2. Still pretty good. #2 battle this week, Manchester versus Scotland. Scotland is sneaking up the rankings by sending their top guys over to Manchester to battle a lot. Jack Traynor, I think, has battled more in Manchester than he has in Scotland this year. He's there damn near every month. And this is him going on the road, picking up some points for Scotland. And going up against a guy who is going to be getting a title shot in Manchester coming up very, very soon. My first time seeing him, your first time seeing him as well, I'm assuming. Enjoy this battle. It's Armen Goatsy.
What a name.
I think it's actually pronounced like Getsy, but if you know Goatsy, that's funny.
If you know Goatsy.
Anyway, it's Goatsy going up against the reigning MVP, Jack Traynor. Here it is.
See if Jack can stretch him out.
Jack looks like the Wendy's logo if they sold MDMA instead of burgers. Jack looks like the love child of Napoleon Dynamite and a manager at Betfred. Jack actually told me one time that he got sunburnt in October. That's it, it's a true story. Normally when his skin changes colour in that month is when he does blackface for Halloween.
I wanted to write a roast about Armen's appearance, but he looks like someone's booted up ChatGPT and just typed in guy. Armen is from Weimar, Germany. Armen is from Warrington, which has a 95% white population, making it somehow less progressive than Weimar, Germany. And Armen's last name is Gotze, as in, I've got to go to court tomorrow. I'm up for fingering a dog.
He's the best.
Jack looks like a farmer's eldest daughter. Jack was quite overweight as a child. Jack was a really fat kid. He was that fat, in fact, that his mum made him drink weight loss drinks when he was 14. His uncle also kept picking up a spoon. He never got fat though, he just overdosed. Yeah, nah, Jack had to have slim fast, his uncle got slim fast. Now, because of his weight, Jack also used to play all the fat characters in all like the school plays. Even in the school nativity, he had to play as the stable that Jesus was born in.
Armen sells phones and broadband, so even when he's at work, everyone knows he's a massive virgin. Armen was born in South Africa. His favourite game to play growing up was apartheid and seek. Goetze may be the name of a German footballer, but the only thing he's kicking is natives off the land.
That's some funny stuff. Keep it going for Bilbo Baggett, everybody. What a funny guy, mate. Now, I've never had a bad trip on acid, but I do think if I did have one, it would just be Jack talking about conspiracy theories for 12 hours. Did you know that fluoride in toothpaste turned me into a specky twat? Did you know that? I also found out that Jack spends most of his money on tinfoil. You think it's for heroin, but it's actually for the hat so the aliens can't get in.
Armen enjoys rough sex. Last time I seen someone with a similar name that heavy-handed, I was watching Schindler's List. If you didn't like that one, you're going to fucking hate this next one. Armen does kickboxing. Makes sense that a guy with a German name goes around collecting teeth.
Oh my God. Oh boy.
Jack shampoos his hair with WD-40. Now, Jack, a bit of a fun thing about Jack, he actually used to study Mandarin in China. That's nothing, mate. I studied Spanish in high school. Did you know Jack Trainer translated into Spanish is El Gringo Retardo? Now, yeah, Jack's second name is Trainer, which makes sense because his whole body looks like it has athlete's foot.
Armen's a fan of UK rap, but the only German whip he has is the one he uses to beat his girlfriend. Oh, God. Sorry about these ones, lad. Armen's girlfriend is half Libyan, and nothing says, woohoo, colonisation, quite like the white guy being the most African in the relationship. What does Armen and Twitter pre-Elon Musk have in common? They're both destined for a future with a black X.
I think that's us, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Jack Trainer comes up. The gap between 1 and 2 was very, very close. I think it came down to the last battle. Jack, milliseconds away from back-to-back number ones. He was number 1 with Tom Goss last week, almost number 1 this week. I think it's only happened 3 times in the history of RBL Weekly. He almost pulled it off, but he comes in second. In a week where we have a lot of what I called Michael Jordan scoring 25.
Yeah.
That was Jordan scoring 40. Well, it wasn't quite a 60 like he had against Tom Goss, where it's like this one and we're going to talk about in 25 years, but this was definitely a very, very good Jack Trainer performance.
Very good Jack Trainer performance. And Jack, he also, I think, similar to Ryan, didn't he? He must have done this one pretty quickly after the.
Yeah, I don't think it was 2 days, but I think it might have been like a week or something like that.
Yeah, I think I remember him talking about this when I saw him prior to the LA showcase. I think Jack's strength is just staying likable while he's saying some of these like crazy jokes, and knowing where his line is. He's got a lot of leeway with what he can get away with because of how likable he is and how crazy he looks. There's just something, so it's always going to be a charm your way through the performance. Even if the joke doesn't land with the crowd, he's still going to find a way to make it work by doubling down or staying in the pocket and doing the thing he did there. He's like, well, if you didn't like this one, you're going to hate the next one. But then using that to catapult the joke to working even better.
Even better. He's maybe the most likable battler in the, and that's something that goes way back to Keith Carey. You know what I mean? Like laughing at all your opponent's jokes, and then you say the most fucked up shit, but you're laughing at their evil shit.
Yeah.
You know, about you and your family, and that's what makes it okay. You're inviting the audience to laugh at everything.
Yeah.
There's one thing Jack does better than anyone else in the league, and that is, there's two things. Accents.
Yeah.
He's amazing at accents. And using the opponent's name against them.
Yeah.
One funny thing I've noticed is if you don't set it up right and you use the opponent's name, especially if it's their last name, it doesn't hit because the crowd doesn't remember that that's like, if you're not a big enough name where the crowd knows, you can't assume that if you're their opponent, the crowd is going to get your little intricate joke about their name. You almost have to bring it back. I've heard a couple against you. DeHerm did a Jay Light joke.
Yeah.
I forget what it was, but it didn't exactly work.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
And
what
against
it was
Doug
either.
Fager, when you guys battled in front of Jim Carrey, Doug lost the battle on his closing joke, I think it was, where he was like, Jay Light. Whenever someone sees you, they're thinking your name in reverse.
Light Jay.
Which is give Jay the light when he's on stage. It was so much like mental math and, you know, imagine bombing in front of Jim Carrey. Jesus Christ. But, you know, that I've heard so many name jokes not work, but I think back to some of Jack's best jokes ever. Shalaka Corrupt. Shalaka the dick and the pussy.
It's such
Nate
a
Welch.
great joke.
What's that short for? Native Americans don't belong here. Tom Goss. With it's usually short for Thomas, but he's so fat. Tom to Tom to Tom. And then Armen Gotza. Thank you for correcting me on that. I Gotza go to jail. I'm up against a fingering a dog charge.
Dog. By the way, just like the epitome of great left turn, surprising ways to take a joke. That's the kind of stuff also that I think the highest level battlers like Jack are great at doing. And I think that is one of the best examples of that I've seen as of late.
Yeah.
The fingering a dog. I would never could have even guessed that that's where he was going to go with that.
Never. And he just hits the really simple stuff too. Like, looks like someone booted up ChatGPT and just typed in guy.
Yeah.
So good. And then the German kickboxer collecting teeth. Oh my God. I could go on about Jack Trainer all day.
And I would like to give credit to Armen too. Armen, who I've never seen before, put on a pretty solid performance.
Yes.
I think obviously this was probably Jack's battle to lose against somebody who the league has not seen. But some of the memorable lines of like calling Jack a specky twat.
Oh my God, dude.
And that just like that, knowing that that's the thing that is going to break Jack probably, and then watching it happen, it's just, it's very fun to see when somebody like that hits and knows, yeah, this joke's going to really, really bang.
Yeah, for sure. And there were a couple, even he had a couple turns that didn't totally hit for me, like the thing about how fat Jack used to be. I think that's always tough to like do fat jokes about how fat somebody used to be.
Yeah.
Because they're so visual and he doesn't look as fat.
Yeah.
But the one in there where he's like, yeah, they set up the whole thing with his uncle dying, and then he's like, yeah, Jack had to use Slim Fast, and his uncle got Slim Fast.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really clever. You know, it was tricky. It's a tricky one to pull off. But I think he had some really clever writing, and he's going for the Manchester Championship, and I'm excited to see that one.
Me too. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Who's he go up against for that? Is that still Charlie?
No, Charlie lost it to, I believe, Monty Wilson.
Oh, okay.
Monty Wilson versus Armen Gotza. Definitely not Goatsy. Don't look up the other thing.
Don't.
Just follow the spelling we give you. Don't try to sound it out phonetically. Trust me on that.
Stick to the lemon parties and tub girls you're used to. Don't go chasing Goatsy Falls.
Amazing. All right. Well, here's the number one battle this week, and this is one that I was in the room for, and yeah, this is one that you know, I'm gonna be honest, like in the room, I felt, you know. I felt like it was maybe a little bit underwhelming. Watching it back on camera, I always say nothing ages better on camera than good writing and good jokes. And that's what translates best to camera. It was the number one battle this week by a very slim margin, beating out Manchester. It is a wild card battle. New York and Chicago came into the week tied at 51 atop the American East Division. They both get 3.5 for this battle. New York's going to take the lead because they also had the Ajoda versus Koopo battle. But it's number one this week. It is New York versus Chicago. It is two of the best to ever do it. Max Sorich going up against Malia Simon. Here it is.
One round. Malia and Max. Who's going first?
I'm going to go first.
I love it. That's Max from Chicago. This is Malia from New York. What do we do? It's the last battle of the night. Come on. Let's go!
Battle.
So this is Malia. Her favorite band is Counting Crows, which is weird because she looks like a modest mouse. Malia she's a mousy-looking Jewish person from New York, so I bet she had a field day in those tunnels, you know?
Max, if you're here, who's giving the speech at his buddy's bachelor party about this being his last day of freedom? Max is part German, which I think makes sense. You know, you look like who organized the boys' trip to Miami.
Give it up for this Victorian painting child bride. You know, Malia, she may be an LA 6, but she's an 18th century 10, so.
Thank you. Thanks. It was good to meet Max. Honestly, when I met him, I was like, oh, so that's who clicks on those YouTube videos about charisma. I've never met one of them in real life. He's doing it on me, you know what I mean? He kind of seems like he just sits in bars and goes, let's fucking go! But he's just like watching black on black violence stats go up.
Let's fucking go. Malia used to have a really bad drug problem. It all started when scientists would time how long it took her to navigate a maze to find coke at the end.
Back to the mouse thing. You know, most people at least try to make it look like they're not like if you saw him in a movie where he was the guy that rapes her, you'd be like, come on. With that hoodie and everything. Actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but it turns out that when Max came out of the womb, his first words were, my father is a very powerful attorney. I could destroy you if it came to it.
If you saw Malia get in a movie, you'd be like, really? I got a couple facts about Malia. Malia, she doesn't drink. She cries a lot. She dates primarily autistic men, so, you know, could be some. And she also tutors the SAT during the day, so, I mean, guys, super fun alert, am I right?
Let's fucking go! Max has a girlfriend. That's nice to hear, you know, right, ladies? Isn't it nice? It's just nice to know there's somebody out there getting fingered worse than you are. Max's girlfriend is the starving children in Africa of getting fingered.
Malia's tits are the starving African children's tits.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks, stranger. I don't know you. Appreciate it, though. Don't let Malia's kind of monotone, too cool for school vibe fool you. It's a defense mechanism because she's deeply insecure, you know? Like, when a guy hits on her, she'll say, ugh, as if. But what she really means to say is, hey, thanks for hitting on me, but I don't have the confidence to accept men's interest as authentic. I end up pushing them away to protect myself, and secretly I yearn for their chase. I can't continue to live like this. My fear of rejection is obstructing a meaningful relationship from entering my life. I have to change. I will change. Wow, I've worked up quite the appetite. I wish I had some cheese because I'm a stinky rat.
Wow.
Pulled it off.
Wow, you did it. You wrote a paragraph. Wow.
Let's fucking go!
Okay, this is true. He has herpes. He told me.
Oh, shit.
I could leave it there, but when Max got his herpes diagnosis, he was like, "Oh man, AIDS is so much easier to spell." But we all know the worst part about getting herpes. You have to tell everybody. So I don't usually do this, but this is an impression of the woman finding out that Max gave her herpes. Hello? Oh man, that's kind of a lot to take in right now. Can I just call you back at recess? Is that okay? Okay, just don't tell mom yet, okay? Just that's all.
All right. The number one battle, wild card in LA, Chicago, and New York, splitting the points. Yeah, I mean, I think in that room we were so exhausted. That battle took place at 1 a.m. Man. The show was supposed to start at 10. I don't think we started till 11. We had a bunch of stand-up, the battle, everything was just like, this show runs long, man. It's a long show.
It's a long show.
And that one took place, and props to those guys because they're also on East and Central clocks.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, it was like 3 a.m. versus 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And I thought that in the room, I was like, well, it was good. I don't know if it was great. Watching it back, it was a lot better than I remember. The jokes really held up. Max's closer was incredible. He had a couple of like really good off the cuff moments. Malia, I thought was really strong throughout the battle.
Mm-hmm.
Really good battle. Give me your thoughts on it overall as a battle. And then I want to get into also who you thought won because for one of the only times ever it matters. I'll explain why.
I think to the point that's sort of been like the through line of this episode, I do think that this was not either of them at their best, but this was both of them putting up like a 40-point game.
Yes.
Where there were a couple moments where slight technical errors, a little bit overwritten. I think it would have been a lot closer. For instance, if Malia had not had the just don't tell mom tag at the end, if she kept it at the recess thing. I think that the big swings, which I don't usually see those kind of big swings out of Malia or Max, were really, really worth it.
Yeah.
Which is another tough thing to calculate.
Yeah.
And I think I can see why this battle is the number one battle. I really enjoyed watching this because I was not there that night. I had to watch this one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Remote. Yeah, I was gone. We had RBL DFW that night. So I was watching this battle back after it had aired, and it was a really, really fun battle to watch. Malia and Max's styles, I think they both have a really good command of who they are, battle-wise, and what works for them. Malia doing the classic dismantling of a person thing. Max just coming in with really, really strong jokes. He sort of hits the same thing a couple of times in a couple of different ways where it's building on itself every time. Obviously, in this one, you get to see it culminating with the Ajoda-esque long form thing, and then just saying she's a stinky rat. At the end. I really liked this battle a lot. I think I would edge it because when I judge, I always tend to think about momentum because I do think battling is such a momentum-based event. In this battle, Malia had the momentum earlier on, but I think Max cemented it. And Malia stumbling on her last joke and having it be a little bit overwritten compared to Max's, where every word made sense and it built to this great crescendo. I give Max Sorich the edge on that one.
Yes, and Max took home the win. I'll say this was another thing that in the room, I think everybody felt like Max won, kind of definitively, and then we dropped it on Patreon. And by the way, if you're not subscribed to the Patreon, please consider subscribing to the Patreon. Starts at just $5 a month. You get a whole bunch of cool shit. And one thing you get is early and uncensored releases on something like this. So,
especially this where we're having to play. And speaking, by the way, from the inside,
yes,
the YouTube censoring thing,
yes,
it's really tough. Like there are lines that are getting censored because we have to keep an eye on stuff.
Yeah.
And there are some words that you can censor where like variations of that word, you don't have to.
I noticed it in this back. And one thing that's really interesting, watching it back, I was taken aback.
Mm-hmm.
It was jarring because I don't watch this shit, especially if I was in the room. I have no interest in watching it back. I watch them back to rank the battles and everything like that. But like too much of my life is already roast battle to be like, oh, I'm just going to watch the full episode when it drops.
Yeah.
I know we've been censoring because, and I know people get mad about the censoring. Let me explain something to you guys. There's not a ton of different like revenue streams to make this thing work and to have the production quality at the level that everybody wants it at. If the sound isn't perfect, the comments are full of like, this is unlistenable. So you got to pay a sound guy. And you got to pay this. And one of the only ways you could pay the sound guy is by monetizing YouTube.
Yeah.
And that means censoring certain things. It's all available uncensored on the Patreon if that's a big deal to you. If you don't want to pay, I completely understand, but like that's why it's censored. But usually when I get the cut of the battle to rank for RBL Weekly, it's the uncensored version.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I had to cut them myself. So I'm just going and getting the one off of YouTube. So it's the first time I've really seen it with like words, you know, cut out. And there were a couple cases where I was like, I don't even know what that word was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and watch it. Sometimes it's clear like through context clues, but other times I'm like, oh man, that's tough. And I see how it does impact things.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just a little insight for you guys into how this whole thing works. Sorry about the censoring, but you know,
go subscribe to the Patreon.
Go subscribe to the Patreon. You'll really help out the channel and us. So thank you. That being said, the reason this matters, who won, is because for the first time ever, I am tracking head-to-head city versus city records to be the first tiebreaker in the event of a tie. Coming into this week, the Bay Area, Chicago, and New York all tied at 51 points. Now, Chicago and New York, that tiebreaker, if the season had ended there, it would have gone to Chicago by virtue of a 1-0 score. Max Sorich beat Malia Simon. So then New York would have slid back into another tie with the Bay Area for the wild card spot.
Okay.
Now the Bay Area is not going to beat anybody in this tiebreaker. They're 1-9 against every other city combined. They stink.
Little freak show over there.
Exactly. But that being said, it matters. Now there's going to be another Chicago versus New York battle coming up this Sunday at the Mothership. It's going to be Ilya Laxin from New York going up against Hannah Beck from Chicago.
Oh, that'll be fun.
But that matters for the first time. And, you know, in the room, everybody felt like Max. I saw people, you know, commenting afterwards like, oh, I think Malia should have won that. So it's interesting how this all plays out. Now, it's no longer tied. So as of now, the tiebreaker does not matter. But if that changes, that could come into play. That being said, let's jump to the standings here. Let's take a look at where we're at with the standings after 14 weeks of a 35-week season. So we are 40% of the way through the season. As of right now, LA leading everything thanks to Jay Light and only Jay Light, 69.5 points. Nate Welch picks up 2.5 for LA with his battle on the road. They are at 69.5. They are first in the entire league. Bay Area moves up to 56. They now control the wild card spot. If the season ended today, they would be in the wild card spot thanks to Josh Means and his battle with Nate. Austin and Denver hold tight. Austin at 36.5. They're still in the wild card race. Denver still at 4. As they fight to avoid relegation. As we mentioned, the last place team in the league will be sent to the WRBL and replaced with the best team from the W. Denver, they're trying everything, man. They went to Pizza versus Eaton this week, and it was just on a really, really tough week.
Man.
I have confidence they're going to figure it out. I'm not super worried about Denver.
I think they'll figure it out, too.
In the East, New York takes the lead there, 58.5. Chicago right behind them, 54.5, which means Chicago just behind the Bay for that wild card spot. Chicago would be on the outside looking in if the season season ended today. Cleveland and Atlanta 12 and 11 respectively. As we go to the West, Barcelona still holding the lead in the International West, but Scotland is coming fast. They're coming hard. Barcelona, pause. Barcelona was up by about 25 a few weeks ago. Now the lead is down to 7.5 there.
Wow, really closing the gap.
Vancouver and Toronto really having a tough time. Toronto 14 weeks in, 1 point. Dead last in the league. They got to figure something out, and they got to do it fast.
Damn.
In the International East, Manchester opening up just a huge lead over Tokyo, 39-12.
Man.
And London with 9. They are creeping back into the wild card picture, but that is where everything stands right now.
This is, I can't believe we're almost at the midway point of the season.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just speaking because I know it's coming up in LA. You already kind of referenced it, and I know that there's a bunch of other, I know I've got battles lined up through July. And I know that there's going to be, obviously, we got the mothership shows where there's going to be the All-Star game coming up too. I think this is going to be a really, really crazy back half of the season.
It is. It's exciting
stuff.
It's exciting stuff, man. I hope we can pull it off. I hope that, we all get to kind of see it through because, man, it's so many interesting storylines and then what cities are going to win and then who's going to represent those cities, the internal battles, the internal drama. We got the wild card for the first time. It's going to be awesome, hopefully. So thanks as always for watching. We'll be back next week with more RBL Weekly. Make sure you check out roastbattleleague.com, Punch Up Live. What was that address again?
punchup.live/Roast Battle League. And also roastbattleleague.com has a link to that if you don't want to
just roastbattleleague.com. A lot of cool stuff coming up. Go check out a city near you. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/RBL Battles. Until next time, I'm Pat Barker. That's Jay Light. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys next week.